Ah,
Oh,
I
shit.
see. I
Ah,
see.
son of a bitch.
No, keep it
Yeah.
this way. Just confuse the shit out of
That
everybody.
won't work.
All right, you know what? I think I've got a good enough charge. All right, you handsome son of a gun. First off, I'm
Can you hear
going
the
to
music?
say, yeah, a little bit. I can hear you, which is the most important thing. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me get my. I can't hear music, but I can hear you. Yo, peace to Canada. Yo, so Dreads 907 is a gentleman by the name of Alton Prince. Alton Prince has probably fought just about every fighter in from the state of Alaska who has gone on to the UFC has probably fought that guy.
For who?
Alton Prince. He's a buddy of mine who just popped into the
Oh,
into
nice.
the into the party, into the crew.
Yeah, I
And
think one of your
apparently,
buddies, because didn't one of your buddies just get married or something, or they're expecting a kid or something? I know him
uh,
because he's a fighter too, I think, and I think I crossed his account from you.
yeah. So Victor Rodriguez, yeah, UFC flyweight, I believe. I believe he was a bantamweight. Went down to flyweight. Yeah, he and his lady are expecting a baby. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, that's
Um,
always good to hear.
yeah, man. Happy people tend to make happy people, right? And if you're doing something that you enjoy doing, even if it's just a little bit of time of the day, you're going to be a lot happier than if you didn't.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. That's just part of like the process of life. That's why like miserable people make miserable people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely,
Well, let's
absolutely.
get this kicking off right quick. Welcome to another motherfucking episode of Kill the Mockingbirds. I'm your host, Sean Chris. And today I got a little bit of the vid, I think, because everybody around me got the vid. I haven't got tested, but I think I finally got it. But it's not too bad. I mean, it sucked when I was at work, but I got to go to work tomorrow. It is what it is. And with me, I got my special co-host, the Alaskan fisherman himself, Wild, off the grid Bill. What's going on, man?
What's going on, my brother? How are you doing today, man? Aside from the potential vid.
Actually, everything besides that's good. I'm pretty sure it is because my buddy's daughter tested for it, and then my little brother was over here over the weekend. He just tested for it, but it is what it is. It's mild. I told him like, hey, well, we're in the hospital. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, true story, true story. Like if it's a sort of thing that you can like power through without it being a big deal, good on you, great on you.
And if you can't, it's nothing against you either, man. Go do what you got to do. You know, whether it's go to the hospital or whatever, go get the proper therapeutics what a doctor wants you to get. For me, I'm just hitting with that 1,500 of vitamin C. I'm doing some vitamin D, and then I got some Mucinex, and then I got me some like little cough drops, and just calling it a day right there.
So I had a jujitsu coach that I work with, a guy by the name of Curtis Hembrock. He's a head black belt down at 10th Planet Austin, and he described it as like you got to get in, you got to get messy, you got to get disgusting and nasty with people because you want your immune system to be tough. So yeah, if you get your vitamins, go out. Yeah. Oh, we got to get to that time.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
worry,
what I was
we'll
gonna
get to
go.
that.
Yeah, that's huge.
Just get yourself ready. So I got the Rona. I'm pretty sure I got it. I tested negative, but other people I was around tested positive, so I figured I have what I have.
Yeah.
So like I'm past it. Every couple of months, I go do something disgusting. I go to a concert and I like share drinks with strangers. Like
Yeah.
I'm past, and not drinks. I don't drink, but I'm past
Yeah.
the blunt with some strangers. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I've already had it. As long as you don't have some shit on your lip. We're
Yeah,
okay.
that's where I don't. Yeah, that shit on your lip got some shit on its lip. Nah, I'm not here with that. But no, for real. But I always do that. So I think I'm pretty good. Like when I was younger, I actually had scarlet fever, And if anybody knows what scarlet fever is at, shit's like intense. Like I was having hallucinations. Like I was out for the count for like fucking 4 days. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like right now I feel like shit. But like also because I had to work. You know what I'm saying? If I could have been cozy in my bed all day, I would have felt a little sick. But it would have felt way better than being at work. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think to me it's just like you said, how much I've been around a lot of germs my whole life. I've had a lot of stuff when I was younger, so I think that's why I fight off. And what I do is sounds gross, but what I was taught by one of my friends' parents. They were like a nurse. I don't know how. Not saying this is something you should practice, but I just do it. So as soon as I feel, because at 3 a.m, I felt the cough in my chest, and I'm like, that's it. You could tell, like when you're sick, like because I had a lot of bronchitis over my life. You know what I mean? I smoke cigarettes. I smoke herb. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're a smoker. I haven't had it for a while, but I felt that cough at 3 a.m. and I was like, man. I was like, all right, let me go. I loaded up with vitamin C, fell back asleep, woke up. As soon as I woke up, I hit a big ass rip. Because that's what I do. I hit a big ass rip of some weed. And then I fucking cough and I make myself cough as much mucus as I can up. And like you could tell right away, it took out the tightness of my chest. Like my chest was super tight and I just cough because it's still fresh in you. You know what I mean? It's not like settled in.
100%. So what I think, and trust me, because I'm a doctor. Like I'm not a real
Well,
doctor.
you played one on TV.
Well, I got it from the Universal Life Church. So, like, if you stub your toe, go see somebody. But I feel like you're essentially doing, when you wake up and you take a monster rip, you're essentially waking up and going for a series of sprints for your lungs. Your lungs are like, rah, I'm waking up, this fucking sucks. Rah. But yeah, so next time just do a monster dab, and you'll never get sick. That's how you do it. You wake up, you drink a cup of coffee, you take a monster dab, all right, and then you get busy with it, and the rest of your day you'll feel great. Again, not a real doctor.
Yeah, but hey, whatever works for you, that's what I always do. But
100%.
Today I have clips that we could play, but I was like, there's so much to talk about. I was like, we don't even really need clips. Like right when I was like seeing the Ghislaine Maxwell, I was like, well, you know, that's going to be a while for us talking about that. So I was like, let's get right into it. So Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of 5 counts, right? Do you know all 5 counts, or because one?
No. I just saw that she was convicted. I didn't see what the 5 counts were.
Yeah, I'm going to go to that right now. And then I guess she got 70 years. There was 6 counts, but she only got 5 of the 6. Well, let's see. Bear with me.
Oh, hey, take your time. This is a very, very big deal, and this has still gone farther than I thought it would be.
It says Maxwell guilty on 5 of 6 counts in sex trafficking, but where are the counts, though? I can't remember what the counts were. 6 counts indictment. Let's see right here.
Let me pull it up. I can pull it up real quick as well. Again, though, like, you have real internet. I'm in Alaska.
You got, yeah, it's a little different kind of internet. Hey, it looks pretty good right now, though. Hey, I like the blue blockers, man. Bring them back, man. I used to love those things.
I like to think of myself as the white trash poor Scott Storch.
I like that. Hey, that could work.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a whole genre of music. It's kind of like lo-fi trap, but dumber. All right. So a jury has convicted Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime associate of serial sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, on 5 of 6 counts related to the abuse and trafficking of underage girls. Maxwell faced a 6-count indictment for allegedly conspiring with and aiding Epstein in the sexual abuse of underage girls between 1994 and 2004.
Damn, they're really like kind of like hiding up these counts. Like they're not making it. Should be like right there, clear as day.
Yeah,
they're like kind of. I can't remember what they were.
This is a unanimous jury has found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of one of the worst crimes imaginable: facilitating and participating in the sexual abuse of children. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said in a statement following the verdict. Yeah, it's not really shown what the
actual counts are.
The actual okay, so let's look at the 6-count indictment real quick.
Sexual abuse of minors between 1994 and 2000. Maxwell 60 was found guilty. See, that's still. Yeah. I wanted the specific.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on ABC.
I'm
Well,
driving a blank.
I'm on ABC News, which covered up the Epstein
Yeah, in the beginning.
in the very beginning. So of course I'm not going to find it there. Um,
It says
um,
one. It says one of the counts. It says Wednesday, finance and just engineer. Maxwell 60 was accused of grooming. What the fuck? Yeah, it's just so weird that they're not allowing us to really between killed himself 2017 charges. She
all
was convicted on 5 of 6 counts, including 1 count of sex trafficking. Her lawyer did not immediately respond to a query on whether or not they would appeal. But I read a story just right now. She is going to appeal, which you would
right. She
expect.
is.
Maxwell
All
faces up
right.
to 65 years in prison. You got him?
Yeah, yeah. So this is what the 6 counts center on. The accounts of 4 accuses. The charges include 1 count of enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, 1 count of transportation of a minor with an intent to engage in illegal sex acts, 1 count of sex trafficking of a minor, which charges that between 2001 and 2004, Ms. Maxwell recruited, enticed, and transported, and 3 counts of conspiracy, which are related to the other counts. The conspiracy counts in the indictment are more expansive, involving all 4 accusers and the homes in the United States and in London.
Now, what do you think this means for Maxwell? We know, obviously, because anybody, whether you're guilty or not, you're going to take an appeal. Everybody's going to do that. That's the smart, if you're in, anybody that's a lawyer would be like, yeah, you have a chance. You always have a chance. Now, they might go, yeah, you got a slim chance, but she got a lot of money. But I was thinking that shouldn't this be able to, like, I know everybody wants to hear about, like, the black books and we kind of already know everybody that was entangled with it. But what I was saying is, can't more people come forward now and she could be charged? You know how, like, when a serial killer is found guilty of killing 2 people and then, like, a year later, they're like, oh, he also killed this person. Oh, and, like, I was wondering if they're going to do that. And when I'm asking that is because do you think that them kind of, like, getting more people involved and more kids, do you think that they're going to use her as the fall guy like they were going to do Epstein? But she's kind of because I mean we know her ties with Mossad and her father and her CIA ties. So do you think that this kind of like a smoke cover, kind of like we got it, don't worry guys, like just chill out, the island's gone, like kind of like letting the smoke clear?
I think so. I think that she's going to whatever's going to happen. Right? There's probably going to be something big happening in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I got done cutting a really, really good podcast with the fellow, and we talked about the fake alien invasion being the next big one because you are going to see other names come out. Yeah. So right now on the West Coast, we're talking a little bit last week, couple weeks ago, about Holly Madison and her experiences at the Playboy Mansion. So if we're talking about like Jeffrey Epstein, then we have to accept that was on the East Coast, right? There's a whole other West Coast side of the party.
Well, remember
there's
Paris
the
Hilton?
Other side of
Paris Hilton recently came out about her board school. What's her name from Florida? What's that little kid that Catch Me Outside? How about that? That kid? The girl from Dr. Phil, she was, I think it was like last year or sometime earlier this year, she was also calling out Dr. Phil and saying how it's like a camp that they send you to. And so like there is a lot more traction in what's going on. And I think people like, what's that other one that, I can't think about the top of my head. What's it called? That one that they busted him. I think it was an actress. Started with like an N.
NXIVM?
NXIVM, there you go.
Yeah. So with Mac. Yeah. So she was recently found guilty. But what's interesting is there were a lot of things and a lot of people that were wrapped up in them as an organization that didn't get a lot of mention. So now I know that a lot of people have mentioned that and know that the Dalai Lama was attached to Keith Raniere, Kenneth Raniere, whatever the fuck his name is. So the Dalai Lama and Raniere were, they were pals, they were homies, they're high-fiving, right? I'm not saying they were knocking out the wobbly H, they were playing the Eiffel Tower, anything like that. What I'm saying is that there was an exchange of money and influence, right? And you have to now know, and you now have to recognize that someone that we consider, that we're supposed to view as holy, right? That we are supposed to look at as a walking Buddha, right? This man is trafficking in his influence. Oh, I didn't know that this guy was down with this sort of thing when I wrote the foreword to his book.
Yeah.
I just took a couple $100,000 from him to say he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that you have. See those pictures of Oprah snuggling up with Harvey, right?
Yeah.
You see these
what's it
people
called? John of
peddling their
God.
influence.
What's his name? John of God? Was that the other guy?
John of God, yeah. Peddling influence. People are happy to sell their influence. All right, and that's why you see problems with folks that invest in or create their own schools. Whether it's, I believe it was LeBron's school. There were recently issues with kids there, or whether it's Oprah Winfrey's school. You're peddling an influence. You're buying influence and selling influence.
I just don't understand, like, obviously, because I guess people's brains are all fucked up, but like, just this whole like the whole, I've talked about it before on a different podcast, but like, what's the whole thing about? You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to do this, like, is it power? Is it like you're stronger than this little kid? Like, I don't understand the pedophile. I guess I've never understood, like, why, what triggers, is it just your brain's fucked up? Like, but with all these trafficking, it's so huge. You're like, it's got to be more than that. I know it's profitable, and that's why I just go lean on that heavy of that. That's the new age honeypots. You know what I mean? They go, oh man, you didn't know she was 16, bro? Oh, we did, and we have it on camera. Not saying that that's always. There's probably people that also ask for it, but what I'm saying is, do you think with this case that they're going to stop doing that? I think they're going to stop doing that as much, the island shit, and I think they're going to start blackmailing people with laptops. Like, oh, this guy has a laptop full of kiddie porn, because you can put it onto anything. So I think, and to me, my biggest beef all the time with everything I'm always arguing with is intelligence agencies, and I believe that's like the weapon they choose to use is they try to blackmail you, but now everybody's kind of hip to the Epsteins and like kind of like, hey, they're kind of working, this is a honeypot. I think it's going to another level, and I think it's going to be like, hey, look what we found on this guy's phone. Hey, look what we found. You know what I mean? Some will be real, some will be real, and some will be set up.
100%, and I think that we're going to see, we'll see deep fakes of people doing, gosh, Ford. I can't remember his first name. He was the mayor of Toronto. Bless his heart. He ended up smoking crack, had a heart attack a few years ago. Yeah. So, you know, like, we live in interesting times, and the technology is only going to make it more interesting. And yeah, we're going to see a lot of things that are going to be fake. We're going to see a lot of things that are going to be real. They're going to be Rob Ford, yes. You're going to see a lot of people who are interacting in ways that what happens when you bring it online?
Well, you heard about the metaverse, right? Already, they said that there was a sexual assault in the metaverse already.
Oh, doesn't surprise me. Does not surprise me in the least. And how do you charge for a crime that you commit in the fake world? If I decide in the fake world that I want to go full on GTA, can I? Do you punish me for it? How does that work? Is that like cussing or?
Well, I saw someone today. I don't know if you go on TikTok ever. Like, I don't know how big you are on TikTok. I watch a lot of stuff on there. I keep an eye on it. I don't have a big account. I just kind of spy on stuff. And it's really interesting, like, the wars you see. Like, there's all these wars of words where people are attacking each other, conservative versus liberal, right? And they each stir the pot, and then they run back and play victim. So it's becoming this mentality, especially, like I said, on TikTok and stuff. Like, I saw this one guy. So there's this modern warrior guy. I've talked to about him before. He's a Native American dude that calls everybody colonizers. He goes, hello, colonizers. Like, he says that all the time. Hey, colonizers. And then people get mad on the conservative side. Like, and they're like, oh, man. And then so they make fun of him. So then they're like, oh, well, you can't say that. And then, like, you know what I mean? It just gets into this war of, like, well, it's okay because, like, this whole fake race, you know how everybody's fucking weird. But what I thought was interesting today, I saw one where a guy, like, he went too far. Like, he was talking shit, making a video, and he's like, showed the guy's picture, and, like, he's following him. And then he got out of his truck, like, he had a scalp, like, he scalped him. You know what I mean? Like, and then And then everybody's like, oh, send this to the FBI. This guy needs to go to jail. And I'm like, but this guy also sends people to, like, to attack people. Like, it's not like he's innocent. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just, it's like, imagine the guy at the bar that's just like, oh, fuck up anybody. And then he gets knocked out. I don't feel sorry for him. I was like, well, that's what you get. But the guy that just walking in like, hey, can I have a drink? And he gets knocked out. Of course I'm going to feel for that guy. He did nothing at all, just try to live his life.
So let me ask you a question then. What are your thoughts on the Let's Go Brandon guy?
I kind of get it. He's probably worried about sponsors. And as you heard him, he had that New York Times article. And he's like, I just want to unite. But who knows? Maybe he wants to.
No, not that guy. I should have been clear.
The one on.
I meant the guy that called in for Christmas. Sorry, I apologize. My bad.
Yeah, my bad. I thought you were talking about the actual driver. No, I thought that was hilarious. But then I also think, like, man, it makes us look as a joking stock, a laughing stock around the world. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like dunking on a little kid. You know what I mean? Where you're like, yeah, it's hilarious. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I saw ESPN do a kids commercial where they were playing basketball with them, and Stuart Scott was like, you know, there's like 5-6-year-olds, and he's like, man, blocking, get that out my house. Like that was hilarious. But like, it's like kind of sad too, you know?
So Ashley's bringing up a really good point. And this is a discussion that I was having as well. It is weird that he was able to get through. Now,
True.
the whole interaction between Charlemagne the God and Kamala Harris felt absolutely scripted. You're gonna say this. You take a second to breathe and ramble there and get flustered. How the hell does the president get on TV and for like whatever 20 minutes, an hour, however long it was, and why is that entire hour not scripted? Yeah. Especially if we know the guy is who he is. Now I do think it was interesting that his wife, you look at her reaction, she knew exactly what happened. She knew exactly what was going on. She knew where it was going, right? And then when he...
But you make a good point, though. Like, their screen callers, man, I can't even get through the fucking local sports station sometimes because they have a guy screening, what's your question, what are you going to talk about? So you're absolutely right. Not only scripted, but if people are randomly calling in, you have somebody in every... That's protocol on television, radio 101, right? You have someone screen the call because you don't want them to go, ba-ba-boo-wee, ba-ba-boo.
Bro, so I worked at a couple of call-in shows in my small little town, right? And when you called in for one of the call-in shows, you talked to somebody before you talked to me, and they said, what do you want to talk about? And then they message me, and they say, this person wants to talk about farts. Okay, farts it is. But yeah, so like that happens, and I'm sure that happened to a degree, but very much so, like all of that should have been scripted. None of that should have looked the way that it did. The fact that it did makes me very, very suspicious. What I do think is funny is that, it's sort of become a thing where I started changing the way that I felt about the president's wife. Like, I never really thought about Jill Biden one way or the other until I started putting different things together. Like a couple weeks ago when she said, oh, my husband's mind is totally not scrambled. He's totally got a functional brain, just as functional as the day I met him, which means either you met him and he was an idiot or what?
Yeah. Well, she reminds me of Woodrow Wilson's wife. You know how Woodrow Wilson was hanging on for dear life the last 2 years, and I think she's like a power grab person. You could tell she likes the limelight. You could tell she likes to be in control, and I think that's her way of, like, she's not going to win the presidency by no means, but that's her way of being able to have some kind of control.
I think that she is like a non-ambitious Hillary Clinton, right? Like, so she's been married to Joe Biden for like 100 years. She had a couple of kids with him. She's Hunter's mom. God damn it, that's got to be stressful. Why won't he OD? All right, and then you're waiting on this guy to die. So, because let's be honest, that man has a lot of money just waiting for him to not be
Yeah.
president. His value is very, very high. Okay, as a human being, his value is much more than his visible assets. And and let's be honest, man. Yeah, she's a backseat driver, 100%. All right.
100%.
She's helping to keep this lie and this scam going. I don't know if you kept up with any of the things that that Alex Jones has said about him shitting his pants and
Yeah. Well, there was that
he's in
rumor on Twitter, like I forgot who it was. Alex Jones talked about it, but it was some other reporter that when he went to go visit the Pope, remember, and then he changed because the thing they were talking about is because he had changed his pants. So in such a short time frame, people had assumed, and then that the one reporter had said that she had got wind of what, no pun intended.
more to that though. More to that, according to Jones, is that's a regular occurrence. That's a thing that happens, and he's kind of at the finger painting stage. Like I think about my son like playing with his food, but then I imagine it's the president doing that with his shit, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like, I think that like even with him and Kamala, like that's to me it was like the first time as 100% in my lifetime that like, oh, these are definitely puppets. Like, of course, I call every politician puppet. I'm saying like, there's no denying it. Like, you see Kamala, you're like, nobody likes her, nobody likes Biden. But my argument is like a lot of people because is like I just fall into the old status of presidents are selected, not elected, and I feel like they're just putting this old geezer like, hey, we're gonna have to use this guy, and I think they're gonna try to push us. And I'm just really on that whole universal one world government. I think they're really gonna try to make America look weak and get us into a war, and you know what I mean. Like it's gonna progress over time. It's not gonna be like, oh, tomorrow we got. I just think in the next 10, 15 years, it's gonna be like if we think it's interesting now, 15 years, we should have another conversation, and we're gonna be like, what the fuck?
I think in 15 years, the things that we're afraid of happening in Tijuana are going to be happening in Chicago. I think that when you look at what's happening in these really, really big cities in the United States, where you have 3 or 4 million people living on top of each other, you're going to see the reporters that are reporting on the corruption. You're going to see them go missing. But you're also going to see bad guys and girls being hung naked from bridges. But that's
like Juarez, like not just Tijuana, but like Juarez. Juarez is one of the drug capitals of Mexico, and you're gonna see all kinds of stuff. I don't know if you guys seen the show Narcos. That's a pretty interesting series of you follow down the whole Mexican mafia and all this stuff, and just like during those times of how many women were raped and attacked just for like going to work. You know what I mean? There was like weirdos out there. So I think you're right. I think it's like a lawlessness, and I think it all stems from not having somebody to teach you, right? Like you take away the father or the mother, or you make it hard for them to be able to teach because they're always at work or they're always providing something else. And I think that people reach for movies, people reach for music. They don't have that grounding, you know what I mean? People that have a solid, like I always tell people, my dad died when I was 12, but he gave me a solid foundation, right? So even though I messed up and did this, I still had that foundation to fall back on, right? So I believe it's that they break up these families and they get so much chaos. Like you said, there's so much chaos. Plus, nobody's really together. Like, hey, yeah, my mom, but she also has this kid, and she doesn't talk to me, or I don't talk to them. Like, there's no love, right? So no family, no family unit, no love, no circle to pick you back up when you fall or show you, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. So I think that happens. And I think that's what they've done in poor countries and smaller like cities. But I think you're right. I think it's going to go to, they're trying and attempting right now to do it to major cities. I'm not a cop advocate whatsoever. You know what I mean? I challenge the police 100% all the time, and I always will. But at the same time, you can't play this game of thinking that, oh, people are just going to freely do whatever they want. Like, because if it is, we could do that. I'm good with that. Like, I'm going to protect my people. But the thing is, it's not going to change anything, whether you get cops or don't get cops. What's going to change is education, showing love, picking people out. Like, but right now it's such a selfish mentality. Like, it's just bred that way for the last 15 years. You know, people get more wanting time to themselves, like not just time to themselves, but I'm saying it's more vanity. Like, hey, me. And I think we need more compassion, or we're gonna fall into like a war of a situation.
I 100% agree with you. Um, and I hate to be the pessimist here, but I think that we're more inclined to turn Chicago into Juarez, or to turn cities like St. Louis into Tijuana, sans donkey show, or maybe include the donkey show. I don't know. But what my fear is that, and this is big scheme. All right, what we're doing is we're defunding police organizations, law enforcement organizations. We're also defunding prison resources. We're firing. I mean, depending on what state you're in, corrections officers are being fired for whether or not they're in. Not in California though, because they made a monster contribution to the governor. But you're seeing the immediate response. So the way that this works traditionally in our cities is that there's a huge swing from left to right. Okay, there was a huge left swing, under Obama, and then that led us to Trump, right? And the Trump reaction was so hard that a lot of our cities and our states went that left, that hard. And so we end up, the immediate response will be then to start locking people up for minor shit, right? You're going to have a lot of Giulianis in a lot of cities and a lot of towns that are going to be arresting people for minor shit, and we're just going to create a new prison industry, right? We're slowing one down, but we're just going to rebuild it out of necessity.
And that's going to be the social credit score, and putting people like, hey, man, you seen that guy, what he said on Instagram? Hey, this guy was in the metaverse doing this. Hey, he illegally got this Bitcoin. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a new prison industrial complex, because they're making people go, man, there's so much chaos. Because if everything's on fire all the time, you're going to not care who's going to put out the fire, right? You're like, fuck it. Finally, there's no more fire. So I think they're pushing people into a corner where they're giving them no option, where they're like, man, I can't have my shit broken into every night. I can't have my stuff stolen. I can't continue to replace it or continue to live in fear. So they will, like you said, they will get a Giuliani who's going to fuck it up even more and make it harder for people. They're not going to make it easy for people. But it's going to push you into that, because you need that, like, because you don't know what to do, because you feel like as a law-abiding citizen, people are like, well, I can't. Like me, I'm going to be like, man, I'm going to shoot that motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? If you come to me with some shit, I'm going to shoot you. I don't give a fuck. Like, if you're trying to shoot me, like, you know what I'm saying? What's the problem? Like, you know what I mean? You can't try to shoot me and then get mad about that. But I think that's what it is that people don't want to get to that level of punching someone in the face or whatever you got to do to kind of like show your dominance, which sounds weird, but like it's almost like old school, crack someone over the head to get that, like, that old saying, go into the prison yard and punch the biggest guy the first day. That is like what, if you don't have that mentality, you feel like you're being picked on, and you're going to look for someone to help you. And when someone goes, don't even worry, vote for me, I want to put them all in jail.
So two things. How often do you think the biggest guy in jail just gets punched for no reason? What if this dude's a straight Buddhist, right? And every time, like, a new guy comes in, he's like, I got to fight that motherfucker. And this dude's like, namaste, homie. Peace and light be with you. I feel bad for that guy. But I think that what happens, I think the natural, immediately, because people want unbiased law enforcement. They want law enforcement that's going to follow every code for every law, and they're going to apply it equally. And that's when you end up with the robot cops and the debt that kills you because you ran a stop sign. You didn't come to a complete stop, and every stop sign now has a camera. But you know what? They're giving it out to everybody. Everybody's getting the ticket. Whereas in the past, maybe you could talk to an officer and say, "Oh, sorry, I thought I had my insurance on me. Let me pull it up on my phone."
Even that changed, and I think that's what I call that change with like the big police monopolies, because in little cities it used to be like that. I could be like, hey man, he was like, you know what, you're going 10 over. You're going 10 over, don't worry about it, man. Look, just kind of keep it easy. This is cool, da da da. Now they don't even tell you anything. They go, here, let me just see your license, and they give you the ticket. And then when you ask them, in my experience, because I got 2 tickets in the last year, and I haven't never had a speeding ticket, and then I got 2 in the last year. And instead of saying like the one I went 5 miles over, and I'm like, dude, my work is right across the street. Like I was speeding up so I could get past. And then he goes, just tell the judge. That's exactly his exact words to me. You could just tell the judge. And then the next one, I'm like, hey, I was lost. He goes, yeah, here you go. He goes, hey, I helped you out. I wrote you a double park ticket. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I don't get points, but I still have to pay $180. Like, it's not like I'm made out of money. Like, you really hooked me up, dog. Like, woo! Like, I get the points.
Good looking out.
And then I get it that they have, like, they're forced. You know what I mean? I get it. There's quotas. I get it. If you're not writing tickets or arresting people, someone's going to say, hey, what the hell are you doing? I get that. But I'm saying there's got to be a better way, man. Because that just frustrates people like me. And then, like, when now I'm trying to defend you guys, and then you do something like that. Or when I watch, like, what's going on in New York, and then, like, they go into a Burger King or one restaurant ripping a kid out of the restaurant because he doesn't have a vax card. He's got to be, like, 6 or 7 years old. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like, that is some crazy shit. Like, if you're such a cop and you're here and supposedly you want to protect and serve, then you should be like, I'm not going to take a fucking 7-year-old out of Burger King because he has a vax card. That's crazy.
No, and you're 100% right. There's a certain degree to which you have to have some humanity, right? As a person, you have to be able to step back and say, is really all of this necessary? I think in a very, very real way, in the next 20 years, we're going to see a more robotic law enforcement.
Yeah.
Okay. The same way you're going to see robot soldiers in the next 10 years, all right, real robot weapons of war. You're going to see real robot law enforcement, and they're not going to give a fuck, all right? They're not going to bend. They're going to have probably the exact same use of force model, which means that A, they're not going to think twice about shooting you, and B, they're not going to miss, right? That escalation, that use of force.
No, well, what they may do, though, I think what they may do so that people will subscribe to it, this is just something that I kind of thought of. Like in Dubai, they have that one RoboCop, if you will, like the first robot cop robot. But I think they're gonna do like stuff where the robot catches you with a net, right? It safely gets you, so that way people are like, you know what, it's a lot better than the cops killing everybody. You see what I'm saying? So to get someone to buy in, right? If I want you to buy in, and you're like, well, if the robot's just gonna kill me and the person's just gonna kill me, I want to go against the person because I have a chance to get away. The robot's not gonna miss, like you said. So I think they're gonna have some inhumane ways of catching people, but they're going to be very like you're saying, like they're gonna be to the letter of the law, like exactly like, hey, you jaywalked. If it's 30 days in jail, you're going 30 days in jail. That kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, but I just like put my foot down. Like they're not gonna know how to decipher like leniency.
Yeah, everything is going to be the same, and people are gonna hate that so much more. It's just gonna know. It's just gonna know you fucked up. Like it'll be able to read your heart. Your watch will tell you that tell whoever it's supposed to tell that you fucked up. All right.
Yeah, and you're gonna know.
Dad's gonna know. They're not even gonna call it Big Brother. They're just gonna call it Dad.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get a call at the end of the night. If we call you about this again, your social credit score will be affected. If you understand, click your jaw.
Yeah, I agree, and that's like within the next 5 to 10 years, definitely. It could be sooner even, but I don't know because I do think I'm part of the. I subscribe to the theories of like that they pushed too soon for this COVID shit. You know what I mean? I think they jumped the gun. I think they were supposed to do it like the SPARS. What was it, 2024, 2025? I think they jumped the gun. Ooh, excuse me. I think they jumped the gun, and they got people all riled up, and now their plans kind of fizzling out, you know? Because people are getting sick, but people are also like, well, it's not that bad. Like, yeah, I'm sick right now. I might be even sicker tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going to do my best to take care of myself, but it's nothing like, I think the problem with a lot of it with the mass hysteria is that people got trapped like this is going to be the worst thing ever. And I think it gets implanted in your head. So like people are even going, man, you don't even know, man. I mean, I was good, but it was the worst. And I'm not saying it couldn't have been. That could have been the worst flu for them. But me personally, I've been sick a lot of my life, man. So I'm like, right now, yeah, it sucks, but I know what to do.
So, bro, I gotta throw this in. This was my initial experience with all of this. In Alaska, where we're separated from the rest of the world, and high quality legal cannabis has been around since forever, I was convinced going into my 40th birthday that my life was a dream, and the lesson was going to be learned when the clock struck 12 on my birthday in April. At 40 years old, I was going to be reborn as a baby or just die in front of my family of this fucking disease that was going to crush me.
Was there any caps? Was there any like caps involved with this? Like
I wish
magical cap?
No, there was just like really strong dabs and fucking like long walks in the cold, right? So
yeah.
So like you take some dabs, you take some long walks in the cold, like you're gonna get somewhere with your thoughts. And for me, I was convinced. All right, I had never been so sure of anything in my life. When I woke up the next day, I was a little upset.
You're like, hey, I'm not Benjamin Button.
I'm not dead. What's with this bullshit? What's with all this intuition and no death?
But then it's like, but then what does that mean though? Like, cause see, that's again like everything we interpret in life in general. So maybe that did happen. Maybe that's your ego dying. Maybe that's a piece of you that you're letting go. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a physical death of you're gone, but it's a thing you're letting go of or that you're resolving. You know what I mean? Like there's some kind of resolution that you came to. Because I think we look at everything as black and white. It has to be reality. It has to. So if you do gaze into a little bit of that, it could be something like that.
I mean, hypothetically speaking, you and I could have both been dead since April of last year. You and I have never met, had any real interaction. We've spoken over the phone. Everything that we've had, every relationship, every joint, everything that we smoked together has always been over this imaginary world, right? It's in this thing that isn't real. You can neither confirm nor deny that I actually exist as a person, and neither I for you. So where does that leave us? Well, fuck, we just kind of have to go with it, right? Like, enjoy the people that you get to enjoy time with.
Yeah, and the people that like enjoy the people that enjoy you. You know what I mean? Like, if they enjoy your company and you enjoy their company, that's a match made in heaven. Like friend, girlfriend, wife, mother, and keep your circle small. Like I know tons of people, and I love all the people, but I mainly hang out with the same 10 people, same 15 people. Like I go see other people later on in the year, but I'm saying on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
And that keeps it easy, so you can manage it. And then then I go in the summer and I go visit friends in other states, and that's when I'll go. But like on a day-to-day basis, I'm living with the same people, and it makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely. You only matter to the people you matter
to. Definitely. So earlier,
that's pretty deep. Like we still have some time. Like we can't end on a deep, sad note.
Oh no, we're not done yet. I was gonna say,
no, we got time.
Earlier, right, I caused a little bit of ruckus. Not a lot. I mean, I actually got some really good discussions out of it. Because honestly, I'm fortunate. I don't call people followers on this shit. Everybody's my friend. Like, it's just different degrees of friendship, right? Some people I know really well and I talk to on a regular basis. Some I see every so often. I'm fortunate that a lot of people that come onto this channel like are open-minded, like of everything, right? They may believe one thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess the stragglers and some of the people that. So a few people got mad because I was talking about Q, because QAnon and a psyop and a cult. And what I mean by that, and that's why I put like change my mind, right? Because I wanted it to be a discussion. It wasn't like I was making a statement. I'm saying, here's the statement. Can you change my mind? Now, some people kind of fell for what I thought they would immediately attack me, right? Like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And some, that what is the great thing I love is that, well, what about this? And then we have a discussion and it actually turns into something really good. Or sometimes we, there's a couple people I had a discussion with that it gets heated and I try to back up too, like where I'm kind of, because I'm a shit talker and a battle rapper, you know what I mean? So I try to back up now and be more aware and be like, you know what, my bad. Maybe I'm going a little too, you know what I mean? I'm taking this to the rap world. And what I find funny is that, like, for most people, they're easily able to talk about Q, and that they could see the possibility. They're not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying they're right. They're not saying I'm wrong. I'm not saying they're wrong. We're talking about and discussing the theories of what could be possible. We don't know. We're not over here. We don't know Trump like that. You know what I mean? We don't know everything that's shown on like a Q. Like, we don't know jack shit. Like you said, you thought you were gonna die. Like, you know what I mean? You're still here. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen. And I think I just get irritated with people that are trying to tell me, oh, I know what's gonna happen. No, you don't. And I don't either. I'm not saying that I do, and I'm not all knowing. And you might get it right. You might have some things right. I totally agree with that. But not all. Hey, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
That's all good. I don't know enough about Q to give like a solid opinion one way or the other. My familiarity with Q comes and kind of goes at JFK Jr. So JFK Jr. hasn't shown back up. I'm gonna have to say that my knowledge of Q then becomes that Q is following some things that may or may not be factually like correct. I don't know enough about Q. Yeah, I live in Alaska. Ask Alaska questions. Yeah. So, hello, Freddie. So let's see what else is going on in the news. What are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? You guys doing all right? Staying classy and the like. I don't know, man. So a lot of my Q understanding really is that JFK Jr. is Q or was somehow wrapped up in that. But then that also ties into the assassination of JFK Sr., the relationship with George Bush, both George Bushes and the Clintons. That brings up cocaine in Mena, Arkansas, and Reagan. There's a lot of stuff that goes in to Q that you have to address, right? You have to address a whole bunch of things that actually happened before you end up at JFK Jr. faked his death, didn't actually crash into a plane. They got a lot of hit. So check it out. Alaska, absolutely. So the Port Chatham Hairy Man is one of our cryptoids. I actually went on a trip this past July, with some friends. We shot some video looking for the Port Chatham Hairy Man. Now, the Port Chatham Hairy Man was like 8 foot tall and would rip people to shreds. That was just kind of the idea, is that he forced this town to kind of abandon itself multiple times. And so anytime people go there, bad things happen. That's kind of so we went out there last July. We shot some footage. We got more footage coming on the way. We're looking at going back out there in like next July. But yeah, we have a lot of things going on up here. We're taking a trip up to the HARP station next year when it's not 1,000 degrees below. So we can broadcast live from the HARP station.
That'll be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, really sorry about that. I had to be one of those big calls. I was like, man, I'm getting, because I had like too much. You know how like now I'm in that sick phase where I cranked up the heater and I had the beanie on. I was like, oh, you're getting a little, you're going to pass out. You better.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, yeah, no, so just drink a lot of water, man. So
oh, yeah.
I know you're drinking Gatorade, but like the rule that they taught us was, you know, like for everything that bottle that you're drinking of Gatorade, drink like 3 bottles of water.
Oh, yeah, because it does, too much electrolytes does fuck with you.
Yeah, it fucks with your salts and all that shit. So just make sure you're drinking water. You're trying to pee clear for a little while, not like just once. Yeah, you're not trying to have that motor oil here.
Just kind of just splash some Alaskan snow and mud on you and rub it on your face. You'll be all right. Basically. Yeah, but what I was saying was, I was sorry, my bad for cutting you off, but I was kind of talking about how people were getting, and what my whole point of the thing is, like, why can't we have conversations? Like, why does it have to be like I'm not right? Why does it have to be everybody's right? Why can't we try to find? And that's why politics sucks now, because there is no meeting in the middle.
Yeah, there's you kind of, there is no middle ground. Right, there is no place for people to have any I kind of like both ways. I like ice cream and frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
But no, motherfucker, you like Trump and you like frozen yogurt, you're gonna die.
Yeah, you can't like that's what I don't get. Like I'm like, why is it that I can't see like I can subscribe to 20, 50, 30% of a theory. My thing is, why do people have a problem with me questioning it? And then like people go, no, we don't have a problem. Then how come people get so mad? You know how many times I got called a shill? And I'm like, don't you got to get paid to be a shill or something? I don't really know the rules of being a shill, but I'm like, man, I don't get paid. I don't know if you guys know this, but
Yo, you haven't gotten your shill check?
I think it's lost in the mail.
Bro, I've been getting, so I get my Bigfoot shill check all the time.
Nice.
All the time. So it's a check. It comes from Anonymous, Bigfoot Anonymous. So yours will come from, who are you shilling for?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out because I thought I was shilling for myself, but I guess that's not a good thing to do because I can't pay myself.
Nah, you gotta. It's sort of like the new Matrix or the new Spider-Man. What you've got to do is you just got to get people writing their member berries and just pander. That's all you got to do is pander. That's all you got to do.
But like I said, it is great that there was a lot of people that were willing to have like a real discussion. You know what I mean? Like that were like, oh yeah, they were like, you know what, I could kind of 50% see that, or you know what, I kind of think this, but I could. Those are the conversations I like, but I don't understand. So like my problem is that people always say, oh, the left is nuts. The left is nuts. So is the right. Anybody that's too far left or too far right, you've gone too far. You know what I mean? We're supposed to try to meet in the middle as much as possible. Like that's the point. Is like you live in a society. It's not going to be your way. That's it. But that's how it's gone now. And that's how people think when they vote. They're like, oh, my guy won. Yep, get all your shit out of here, bro. You know, and it's like, no, man, we're supposed to make, meet in the middle and be like, hey, you know, I'll take some concessions and maybe you could do this. I agree with you on this. But it's all about like all or nothing now. All or nothing.
I think that stems from like this COVID isolation, right? Mm-hmm. So if everybody is like, you can't do shit, right? You can't go to the game. You can't go to the movies. You're stuck at home. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna get on Instagram or you're gonna get on Facebook and you're gonna rattle off to this bubble of people that you're already like in the bubble of, and they're gonna be blowing the same bullshit back to you. And everybody is essentially just blowing their own bullshit back at each other, and further like tightening their bubble. No one, I mean, not a lot of people go on social media and expand their personal bubble. Like brands do. Brands will expand. However, like individuals, it's like until you, I guess you start calling yourself an influencer or whatever. But not a lot of people like grow their social sphere. Like more and more people like them unless you're selling some shit.
Yeah, and also like it just seems that a lot of places have become echo chambers, and I think people do, because that's kind of why I don't want to make money off this. I feel like it takes away from my message. Like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna try to make money on podcasting. Don't get me wrong, but for this one in particular, I'm just like, well, you know what? First of all, it's like my baby. You know, like it's like freestyling. Like I always freestyle. My style's for free sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I do that shit, and I love talking to people. But I think this whole like echo chamber of like where, oh, we all agree on the same thing. If you don't, I got to kick you out. It's happening on all sides. Sometimes people focus on only the left, but I believe it's on both the right and the left. Like they're both falling into these traps. And I think you're right. It's the lockdowns where people were isolated. They wanted to feel validated. And then plus every day, at first it was like, bing, fucking idiot conservative, bing, fucking stupid liberal, bing. Like, you know what I mean? You're getting, and after a while, every single message you see is a negative message. You're already ready to be negative. So when you go back out into the world, you already have that negative energy with you. And I think that we just got to stop. I do it myself. Do I say the wrong thing sometimes? Yeah. So what you do is you stop and you go, you know what? You're right. I shouldn't be talking to you like this. Let me break it down better so we can have a real discussion. And it's not easy having discussions in comments. And that's why I invite a lot of people to do like lives with me and stuff. Sometimes they accept, sometimes they say no, or they just want to do like a FaceTime or something and we'll just talk. But what I'm saying is like this echo chamber is getting worse and worse. That's how I feel. I feel like echo chambers are like the lines are almost completely in the sand, like, and it feels like all the doors are closing and I'm like in the middle, like, well, I don't want to go that way. Or like I kind of agree with some of the things you say and I agree with some of the things you say. I can't go either way. Like there's positives with some of the conservative right wing values. There's positive with the left wing liberal values. Some of them, you know what I mean? To act as if all of it's bad is, I think, really a detrimental place for us as a country, and it just puts us more in a tailspin. And I think we got to stop, reflect, and go, you know what? I need to listen more. I try to do it a little bit more. I'm not good at it, but I try to get better at it.
Um, I think you're 100% right. The thing that gives me a little bit of comfort is that, like, when you talk about the battle lines being drawn, right? The battle line is freaking fat, dude, and most of us sit inside of the battle line, like, and understand that the person standing in front of me, really, hopefully, if we're talking to people, then it's really a minuscule thing, because a lot of times what people are arguing about online is something that has absolutely nothing to friggin' do with them as a person. A lot of folks want to argue about different sports issues. Do you play sports, or does anyone in your life play sports? Are you even a fucking fan? All right, then shut up. Just shut up and enjoy your life. Stop looking for things to make yourself angry, because all you're doing is you're waking up to create an anxiety. You started a fight with somebody before you went to bed last night on Instagram or Facebook. What's the first thing you're doing when you wake up and take a shit? Ah, fuck that guy. And then now the person that you're supposed to interact with on a regular basis, your wife, your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, all fucking three of them, all right? You're now interacting with them after you've already built up this anger and frustration and this anxiety, all right? Because it's somebody who you're fighting with in the fake world.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like I said, like I fall victim to it plenty of times, especially because like being a battle rapper, like I talk shit. That's what I do. And sometimes it's just instinct that I go say the most like not fucked up thing, but like I say something to get a reaction, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm saying it intentionally to get a reaction, so I'm trying to myself just kind of back up, and I do it. I've been getting a lot better. It's usually when you're getting that attack, like when you're like post something up, like today, like I posted, I was getting comments left and right, and it's all over the place. So you're just like commenting, like you're like, oh man, hold up, because I try to speak to everybody if possible, because I feel like everybody has a valid opinion, whether I disagree with it or not. And I feel like I should do my best to hear them out, right? Even if it's not batshit crazy, or if it makes no sense, or if it might be a great theory, or it might be something that I didn't even know and they might teach me something. But I'll never know if I don't talk to them, right? So I've always tried to like base my life on that. So if I go somewhere, I love to talk to the old man at the bar, you know, the older people, or somebody that's just randomly traveling, you know, the world. Like I like to know more about people, and I think that that's what we need to do is like accept that an echo chamber is no good. Like I'm not going to agree with you. You're not going to agree with me all the time. Like just not just you, but generalizing anybody in this world. But we don't have to agree. The only thing we have to agree on is that, hey, human lives are valued, right? Like your life is valued. Everybody has a value of their lives. Like, and I don't mean a dollar amount. I mean, as far as you have the right to live, you have the right to prosper and be happy and try to figure everything out. You have the right to look for your creator. You have the right to live a peaceful life, but we have to earn that within ourselves, right? Like we got to find peace. Like my peace isn't going to be me telling everybody, hey, you should do this, you should do that. And that's not my intention when I'm posting things. I ask questions. My role is to be the question guy, to be the skeptic. Why are we doing that? Who is this? Why? You know, when, where, like all the questions that need to be asked. But at the end of the day, the only way I'm going to find peace is within me, is finding what my personal peace is. And then once I find that, or the closer I get to that, the more positive energy I'm able to push out into the world. And I think that's what we got to think, is that the echo chambers are metaverse death traps. You know what I mean? We need to go back to real life where we just go, hey, you know what? I don't agree, but I'll hear you out. Let me hear you out.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think that more people need to sit down and have coffee with a relative stranger or a relative.
Yeah.
More people need to go out and have contact with another human being, whether it's just a walk around a park, sharing a joint, or whatever the fuck it is, right? Just enjoying each other's company rather than sitting alone angry for 2 hours a day. And a lot of folks are getting their information from folks who stare at a computer and are angry most of the day. For example, your Sean Hannity's, your any one of your TV talking heads who, by the way, they all also have their radio shows, which, by the way, they all host from their house, right? They don't interact with anybody. Their bubble is the people in their house, okay? Their bubble is maybe they go to the store for themselves for some reason or another. But I can't imagine, and I don't know the man, but I can't imagine Tucker Carlson or
Well, he was in that
Rachel
fish bait.
Maddow.
Remember, he was in that fish bait store in Montana. Remember that guy called him out? Now, but I agree with you, Maddow and Sean Hannity, never. Because Sean Hannity knows he'll get punched in the face instantly. Like, instantly, as soon as he walks out.
Yeah, those cats ain't going to Walmart, right? They're not shopping like us.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, their interactions with regular people don't exist. And I think it's cool that Tucker Carlson went and got his own bait. That surprises me. You know, I would never, I'd be shocked if he baited his hook. But you know what? I've been surprised before.
Hey, well, maybe his help had COVID or something, so he couldn't do anything. Maybe that's what it was.
It's true, yeah. Maybe someone got sick. Maybe, you know, it's interesting. I never heard him once mention the fact that Chris Cuomo got his brother, or I'm sorry, not Chris Cuomo, Hunter Biden got his son into college.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so yeah, Tucker Carlson's, and this is one of the things that came out in the emails and text message investigation. Hunter Biden wrote a letter to get Tucker Carlson's son into college.
But he hates him. See what I'm saying? This is that WWF shit. This is like where it's hard for me to like, where I go, you know what? That's where like, to me, like, I know what you're saying. Like, you know, this screen is not necessarily make me real, make you real, but I didn't think you're real. I can see it. This my belief. Obviously, that's my belief. And I think us real people need to take this world back. I think there's too many fake people. Too many people that want to tell us how this rules. I think that if we take it back, and when I mean take it back, I mean like just say no. You're like, I'm not going to do that. And go help your neighbor. You know what I mean? Go build something with somebody. Like let's make it better. Like let's not wait for somebody to do it for us. Like I'm trying to get like some shit going. Like shouts out to all the people that are building organizations, but not just organizations. You don't have to build something crazy. Just build something in your neighborhood. Get a little fucking neighborhood garden going. You know what I mean? If you're in like a what's it called, an urban area or like a city area, get an urban garden going, you know, like get something to where people can feel pride in where they live. The reason why there's so much crime and so much hate in Chicago or whatever, name the city, right, wherever the crime rate's high, at Los Angeles, is because the quality of living sucks. So people are just like, well, if you're gonna make me fend for myself, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And a couple of weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi was asked about the smash and grabs, and she goes, well, I don't understand where the lawlessness comes from. And I said this, I think either the last podcast or podcast before that, I was like, where does it come from? It comes from the top. They see you being lawless, going in there and you know, trading for stock so you can fatten your pocket, so your husband can get a PPP loan for his restaurant. They see you being a 200 millionaire, right, in office for like 40, 50 years, never had a real job. And then you're telling us where does the crime come from? Where does all this shit stem from? It stems from our government. Why are we so? I mean, our politicians. Why are we so ready to like punch each other like for Democrat or Republican? Because our politicians have made that. Our politicians are going in there instead of saying, "Hey, look, AOC, I don't agree with you, AOC," and you know, I think that, you know, some things you say, not saying all, but mostly, right? This is a large percentage of them. They should say, "Hey, yeah, I don't agree with you, AOC, but you know what? I think you agree with me on this topic. Let's get it together." And that's how you build relationships with people. But it's come to the, like I said, it's all or nothing. And I think that's how our society is reflected off of the people that are in charge of us, right? We're going to mirror the people at the top. And that's what we're doing. We're fighting within each other because they're fighting within each other.
I think it's interesting that when you mentioned AOC and people working together, there was an issue where she and Ted Cruz were kind of on the same side, and she still said "fuck you" to him.
Yeah, she's bad too. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you have. And I was looking at her Christmas card. Did you see her Christmas card?
No.
The one she posted on Instagram. I shared it. If you're watching now, you can go watch it later. And I'm focused on her boyfriend. When I look at her, all I can think about is her boyfriend and like his fatty neck beard. And like,
I think I did see it. I did see it. There's like a dog.
Yeah. And there's that fucking. You look at this thing, and you're like, man, you used to be a wolf, right? You used to be a wolf, and you used to be a Homo sapien. All right, now you're clearly somebody who spends too much time in front of a computer agreeing with your girlfriend and getting upset that people don't like her. What happened is that poor schmo was able to land a girl that was out of his league. They're both dorks. They're both absolute dorks. But he's like, I got a girl that's out of my league, so I can't have a backbone.
So I'll do whatever she wants.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, every time I read about him, I hear the word supported. Like, I read supported in, like, quotation marks, right? And I'm like, man, there are ladies here. I don't want to say terrible things, but there are ladies here. And there would be terrible things to say about this man, and I'm sure he has loved ones. But yeah, people need to interact with people on a regular basis, whether or not you agree with them or disagree with them. And here's the great thing about disagreeing with them. When they're face to face, you're way less inclined to raise your voice, and so are they.
And if you really like push it forward with people and let them know, like, hey man, I don't want to talk about that. Most times they'll be like, yeah, okay, cool, let's talk about something else. Most of the time, if you're just vocal and be like, you know what, we're not getting anywhere on this conversation. Let's talk about football, or let's talk about UFC, or something that we can both relate to. Because, like, obviously at this point, like, don't try to win it. We're not gonna win it. You know what I mean? We're not gonna win the argument. We're not gonna win the debate. It's not high school. It's just like, yeah, you know, like you said, like, and if you do sit there with an open mind, especially if you're dabbed out or high, man, you're gonna get some pretty good stories sometimes. You know what I mean? And you can picture it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get a way better visualization from somebody who's got a differing opinion, especially if you're sharing weed, because it gives you time to kind of relax and hear this person out. Because clearly we've got this thing that we both very much enjoy. What could happen next? What else do we have in common that we both like? Fleetwood Mac.
Yep.
Mind blown.
Or even if, like, sometimes you even go further and you're like, oh, you knew my cousin and you went to high school with them, or oh, da-da-da, my relative. There's so much great stuff that you can learn. And then, like, plus there's so many people, like, that you interact with that you don't know. Like, my buddy was talking about our podcast the other day. He's like, I know, I think he was at the Rose Bowl. He was the MVP of the Rose Bowl in college. He's a maintenance man now, you know? Like, that was his peak, you know? He probably loved it. It's probably a great time. Nothing against him. Like, but what I'm saying is, you don't, like, so it's easy for someone to pass by probably that guy, like, it's just some maintenance guy. But little do they know, he won the MVP of the Rose Bowl. Like, he like, destroyed it. I think he was a receiver around with Lynn Swann and stuff. So it's like, maybe he got hurt, maybe he couldn't do it, whatever. But what I'm saying is, you never know what you're going to run into, too. And I always run into, because in some areas I lived in, wasn't always the top of the top notch. So, you know, there was shit. And I always looked at it as like, man, if you disrespect the wrong person, you might not. You may never see a day again. So instead of me going and disrespecting everybody, like, I'm sure I disrespected people on accident, but not intentionally, you just go there and you go, hey, you know what? I'm going to be cool with everybody. I'm going to listen to people. And, you know what? For the most part, I've been able to fit in everywhere I've ever gone. Is there every now and then someone gets pissed off at me? Sure. That's going to happen. No one's going to love us 100%. But I think for the most part, everybody just wants to be heard and want to have a good discussion and not be mad about it. Like, I'm not mad about it. I don't know anything. I don't know jack shit. I only know what I've read, and that could be all lies. You know what I mean? I don't know what's super true, and I don't care. What I know is true is that if you treat people good, you'll get more good in life. And that I've seen it in my own life. So I think, like, we need to break these echo chambers. That's the main thing I want to do. Yeah.
I'm in here. Sorry, I've got kids.
Oh, you're good, man. I had to take a break too, so like, I had to run over there. So we're both on cue. You know what I mean? It's live.
Yeah.
Fuck it, we're going live. You know what I mean? I just don't want people to keep falling into all these traps of, like, these celebrities, people. Like I said, I don't know if Trump's a good guy or a bad guy. I don't care at this point. My point of everything is, like, let's just continue to build what we've already built. I know some great people that are into being anons. I know some great people that are into flat earth. I know some great people that are into different theories that I may not subscribe to, but they have great hearts, they have great intentions, and they show me other things that I didn't know. So it's like, that's perfect.
I interviewed a Spaces Fake guy today.
Nice.
Yeah. We got into a little bit of flat earth. We talked about some Tower 7. But yeah, that was kind of the big thing is space is fake. And you're going to meet people that you like. You're going to meet people who have some interesting ideas. You just need to stop and interact with people on a regular basis and just realize the world is so much bigger and so much more interesting than your little bubble. And you're going to find some people across the street. Most of us don't know our neighbors. You know, like we could live next to someone for 5 or 10 years and not know that person.
Yeah. Not even interact or say hi even. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could. I mean, they could have been the sweetest human being. You could have loved each other's company, but you never knew until it was too late.
And then that's where I think it also goes with like don't take life so seriously. You know what I mean? Like you don't like that's what I mean by not being right. Like it's okay. Like okay, say like I disagree with flat Earth, right? But I just don't know. That's what I tell people. But just say I'm like no, Earth is round. It has to be. That doesn't mean I can't be friends with that guy. That's to me, that's illogical that I can't be friends with him. I should want to be friends with him more because he's gonna make it more interesting for me. Because I'm gonna be like, you know what? He's gonna make me think, right? I'm gonna be like, if either I'm disproving him and I'm like, no, this. And then sometimes they disprove you. Like that's what growing is to me is like being pushed to the limits of like what you really think this world is. And we're not stuck in this bubble, like you said. We need to just live in this world. There is no echo chamber. We're all like connected somehow. We don't know how, but we are, right? Like that's why you get a bunch of us together, good things happen. So I think that like just being there for people more, and also too like really like this might sound like lame to some people, but I'm gonna tell you it works 100%. I don't think it's lame. Give more hugs out, man. Bring hugs back, man. Like homie hugs, fucking hugs with people. I mean, I always do because you know what? It's you don't know what someone's going through, and to get a hug can like super relieve so much stress and anxiety from somebody. So just go out there, give random people hugs. You know what I mean? I do that to my niece. I just go random hug and I just give her a hug. Like,
I do it to strangers in parking lots.
yes.
And but it's another thing. Like you also want to keep your immune system up. Like and what better way to keep your immune system up than to hug as many dirty, nasty, filthy people as you can?
Yeah, but and then you're changing like the whole day for that person. Like you don't know what happened. Like they might have just lost a relative or their loved one lost a fight to a disease or they broke up or whatever it may be. And then like just giving that, not even just hugs, but just giving that positive, try to be as positive as possible. Like, and it doesn't mean like you got like, it's not like some trick where you're like, oh, I gotta just go, hey man, just look at the world like, hey, people are good. And for the most part, people are good. If they're an asshole to you, just keep it pushing. Unless they try to actually cause you physical harm or your family or someone that you care about physical harm, keep pushing. Who cares? Let them call you a bitch. Let them call you a pussy. Who gives a fuck? Who is this person? Like, I'm gonna go to jail for punching somebody in the face just because he called me a pussy. Call me a pussy all you fucking want. As long as you don't hurt my family, I don't give a shit. Who cares? Say whatever you want to me. It doesn't matter to me because it's just about learning about people. And then, I don't know, maybe you're calling me that because you had a bad day. So we have to take in consideration other people's feelings as well.
Agreed, 100%. I've learned to stop arguing, and I do my best to not argue with anyone about anything. It doesn't matter if it's my child. It doesn't matter if it's I try. Like I'm naturally a loud person, so that might raise the like where we're at. So if I have to be the one to bring it down, then I'll be the one to bring it down. Like there's no sense in arguing because once you get to the point where you're raising your voice, no one is backing down. No one is going to say, you know what? Now that I think about it, you might be right on that thing. Meanwhile, if you could just stop arguing and move on to the next thing, you're both gonna get so much further along in your day, and you're not gonna be held up in this idea that neither of you are strong enough to. Both of you have weak arguments and you suck. Move on to something that you can agree on, and that is the very best producer to have ever worked with Nas has to be Hit Boy.
Ooh, I got people that disagree with you on that.
I got people that
think people that I haven't heard either album, so I have not said anything because I only heard a little bit of the first one, and I don't know, like I don't want to say, I can't say anything. I'm going off of what other people say, and I don't like to take anybody's like, because people tell me that about movies too. They'll be like, oh, that movie sucked, and then I watch it, I'm like, I don't know, I thought it was incredible. You know what I mean? Like.
Okay, I didn't like the last Hit Boy record with Nas because I thought that it was stuffy. Like I thought there were too many songs on the record. I thought there was too much stuff that was there to please people. What I did enjoy thoroughly was this record is like 29 minutes, right? Or 34. It's not a very long record at all. It's 9 minutes long, and it's bangers. And I think that this is in my opinion Hit Boy's best work since back in the day when he did One Train with A$AP Rocky.
Okay.
So for me, like, this is it's weird to hear a rap or a producer that's trying to, when producers tend to work with
create
Nas,
for
they
an
try to
artist.
show their ass.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to
go for it.
like they're using this as their opportunity to show the world what they're capable of. Hit Boy is using this to show the world what Nas is capable of.
Yeah, these custom beats, like where you highlight the artist, like. But like I said, my homie, he wasn't really feeling it. He said like, but again, he says that that Nas is the worst beat picker in the history of.
Oh, 100%, 100%, 100%. And that's what I like about Hit Boy and this record. Now, I think that first record was kind of a feeling out process. I don't want to necessarily hold it against them, but they had a collection of songs and they were due to release something. So they had a collection of songs, and here you go. Meanwhile, you had enough bangers on it to make it a listenable album, but it was very much a traditional rap record in that there was a lot of fluff. There was a lot of waste. Yeah. What I like about records that are coming out now, and one of the things I'm really excited about with Pure Bloods is that it's an EP. It's smaller. There's all killer, no filler. You know, and there's not extra songs about shit that doesn't matter and no one cares about.
I agree with you. That's why I did the same thing with Dystopian Paradise. I say, you know what? Let me just make it short and sweet instead of dragging it out and waiting people. Because I can always do another 7-8 song where like it's easier, and then like you said, people can digest it a little bit easier. And then sometimes if it's really a good album for people, it ends and it's too short, which is a good thing because then they want to listen to it again. And I think that is the playback factor. I wanted to ask you, what did you think of Russ's album?
I didn't listen to Russ's new album, and part of me is sort of regretful, but I appreciate that he appreciates who is supporting him at this point in his career. I also appreciate that, like, you bring up Hit Boy. It's interesting. Hit Boy had the Russ's. Didn't he have like a Russ's Whack T-shirt?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because and I don't know which came first, like Kanye hating on Hit Boy or Hit Boy hating on Russ.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
But it's kind of the self-licking ice cream cone. Russ is interesting because if I'm not mistaken, he's another guy that's kind of he's kind of an indie artist.
Yeah, he's a complete indie artist. He's, to me, like, he kind of reminds me of, like, I don't want to, not how he sounds, but it reminds me of like a newer age like Tech Nine. You know what I mean? Not how he sounds whatsoever. What I mean by that, what I mean do is melodies and stuff. But I mean by completely independent. He makes his own beats. He, you know what I mean? He has his own, like, he owns everything. You know, the problem with this last record, I kind of skimmed through it. He has murderers on there. He has like Alchemist. He has Jake One of my favorite producers.
I think 2 tracks from Jake One, yeah.
But it's like to me, it reminds me of Russ was like, this is how I picture it. Like, these are his idols, and he was too maybe timid to ask for, like, let me listen to more shit. You know, they sent him 10 beats, and he's like, all right, I'll pick one of these. Instead of like, hey, I want to find that record. Not just say, hey, I have a Jake One record, I have an Alchemist record, but let's find that record. You know what I mean? And I get it because there's probably not a lot of time with all the pandemic and stuff. That's my only gripe because I actually like Russ. I think Russ is super talented and underrated, man. Like, I think, like, him coming out with his own shit, and maybe he's just better with his own beats because he's so melodic. You know what I mean? I think that he's a dope artist, but I just thought that last one, I don't know. It just, like I said, it just sounded like he grabbed whatever beats he could, and you're like, dude, you have like the best producers on this planet on this album, and you picked their worst beat. He had Harry Fraud. Harry Fraud, another one of my favorites, and I'm like, oh, this beat's okay. I've never said that about Harry Fraud. I've never said that a beat is okay. Like, I'm just like,
if you're Harry Fraud or you're Static Selecta, and that's one we can touch on a little bit later, or another time. But I think that, like, if you are Russ, right? this might be his one opportunity in his life to make a fan
True.
record where you know, like, he's paying for it himself. Fuck
Yeah,
it.
no, most definitely.
You know,
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they sent him beats because just knowing as like a you know, like artist, you know, people just send you beats, and I get it. Like, if they're people I look up to, I'm not gonna want to be like, hey, this beat's hard, but you know what I mean. And these are people you looked up to, so that's just what I get. Obviously, I have no idea. I'm just straight speculating, but that's just how I saw it.
Do you think that any of the producers made beats without listening to Russ themselves?
Yeah, to me, it just sounds like when you go to a producer's house and they're like, yeah, this is what I have on the hard drive. Like, I think that they, like, he was just trying to, it may be like maybe it was time sensitive. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he, like you said, he's making his own album just to be like, yeah, I made a song with Jake One. I can't say that. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
I could criticize the song all I want, but I don't have a song with, you know, Alchemist or Jake One or Harry Fraud. So that's dope. But I just think that he may have rushed it. Like, again, I don't know. Maybe he thought that sounded dope, and maybe it's just I have a different ear. You know what I mean? And my ear just doesn't see it with him. It's not that it's a bad beat. It's just it doesn't necessarily like fit him. I would have rather him do like an EP with Harry Fraud or an EP with Jake One, where like they get to sit there and pick his brain, or Alchemist, where they get to create it with him. I think that's just we need to go back to that instead of this like, hey, send me your verse. Hey, here, send me this beat. And you sit like when you're in the lab, man. It's nothing like the nitty gritty, man. When you're right there, someone comes up with the bass line, someone comes up with the hook, and then someone's writing their lyrics, and you know what I mean? Like you just you can't substitute that.
I I don't know. I think that, like, sometimes the check clears and here's your beat pack. Pick one of these five.
Yeah.
This is inside of your budget. Because at the same time, if you're Russ and time with DJ Premier is now worth X amount of thousands of dollars because he has all of these other things going on, then, you know, like, how do you address this? And then how do you address that?
True.
You know,
That's a great point that you just said. Like, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he might. What was his budget? You know what I mean? He's an independent artist who does his own financing and everything, and maybe it wasn't in the budget to go, hey man, I can get a bunch of $500 beats from these guys so I can have them all on one record. That could have been like, you know what I mean? That fit into his budget. So that's possible. But I want to change lanes real quick because since we're talking about hip hop, and we kind of discussed it a little bit on just over like chatting. I want to talk about the NEMS.
okay.
And what you were talking about like his ties and maybe some Illuminati Freemason type of ties.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden he's bing bong everywhere.
Yeah, weird, huh? So this is a really rough one, right? Because in order to say that this is what this means, then you have to start speculating on other things, right? Did this person sacrifice themselves? Are they this or are they that? Is there this going on or is this other thing going on? So let's talk a little bit about the imagery. Going back to, and I'm not looking at dates right now, so some of this is kind of off the top of the head. He released a hat last summer of 2020, right? And on that hat, it's a gold hat, but it's the Masonic logo, right? It's weird. I just got done talking about Masons with this other podcast I did, but it's sort of their the compass. It's the G. It's all that. But it's guns and straight razors, and it's all gold. And that's just kind of, there were some other things, but that was the first thing. It's like, well, why would you do that? Because I know who you associate with, and I know kind of what their thinking is, right? And they're tuned into what's going on. So you have to have some kind of understanding of what this is, this imagery that you're putting out. What does this mean? And then you start seeing like the praise of sacrifices, right? Like this thing. This is everything that I have offered, and then immediately, I mean, hard work pays off. Don't get me wrong, but in a very short amount of time, he goes from one place into, and I'll explain more of it in the video that I'm working on right now, because there are things that I want to address, but I need to wait more. So
you need more information, right? Like
I do need more information because there's some really ugly stuff to say, and really some ugly potentialities. And it's one of those things that, like, I don't want to be right. So I kind of have to, like, I have to sit down and I have to
Yeah,
wait
because I
for this
respect
other
him
thing
too
to happen.
as an artist. I respect him too, you know. But what is interesting is that his style, which I think he's dope, right? Like I like that style, but I'm saying he's not the only one with that style. You know what I'm saying? Like that is a traditional mid 2000s fucking grimy New York Philly kind of guy. You know what I mean? And I think that
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy to see how much. But again, there was a TikTok, so like I'm with you. Like I see the speculation, but I could also see like, you know, like I think they had it on the Math Hoffa one time. They were like, nah, Jay-Z and them, they just embrace that shit, right? Like they just lean into it. But I'm like, wow, what's the purpose of leaning into it, right? If you already know
Yeah.
people think it's weird, if you already know people, like, what's the point? I don't see the benefit in leaning in it. Like one thing that we should really discuss is why is it okay for Jay-Z to have his label called Rockefeller? Like, come on, you think Rockefeller didn't have slaves? Are you fucking kidding me? John D. Rockefeller, the family? Come on, man.
Bruh.
Like, I just don't
Bruh.
get it.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on, and it's very easy to speculate on what some of these different things mean. But especially when you know that they have to know what these things mean when they're doing it and when they're saying it and what these actions are. If the very last image in one of your reels is that number, and the one before that is you in your sweatshirt with your 33 Bing Bong. Meanwhile, you're profiting off of the Masonic imagery. I do want to add though that, like, while the Joe Biden was in that fucking stupid video, in the Joe Byron video, he was still saying he was still selling the "fuck your vaccine" T-shirt. Yeah. So keep in mind, the guy we are talking about is a guy who is actively selling a "fuck your vaccine" T-shirt. So mixed messages all around.
And that's the hard part, like you said. Like, I mean, because you can't, in theory, like I have a friend and he's not into conspiracy or anything, and does sure as hell is not a Russian or anything. But when we had a group a long time ago, we had we called it Iron Sharpens Iron, ill established, right? And it was the sickle and you know, the Russian symbol, the sickle and the hammer.
Hammer, yeah.
Because it's like, you know, iron sharpens iron. Now someone could go, oh, this guy's pro Russia, like that doesn't. But we thought it looked cool. So I do see that some of those aspects of like symbols look cool, but I'm with you. The only thing that pushes me to speculate more is it's like, dude, you know, bro, everybody you rap with talks about this shit. Like they talk about, like, it's not like it's like some, hey, what's the Masons? Hey, what's the Illuminati? It's not some. Plus, everybody knows who the Illuminati is, man. Since 2005, I think everybody talks about Illuminati openly.
Yeah. It's not like it's a closet discussion, and so when you have dudes like Nems who are pushing the imagery, now are we pandering? Like, what are we doing? Because it's not like you're like a 19-year-old kid. He's a 37, 38-year-old man. He knows what the imagery is, and he's been and it's been imagery that he's been pushing, and that is now being kind of fully embraced, or at least more embraced by the mainstream, by guys who we know are attached to some dark shit. And you kind of know the fix is in when you see the dude posted with other, the fixes in dudes posted up at fixes, doing fixes in photos. Like, there are just certain things you see and you're like, okay, so now I know. You just look at it immediately. Okay, the belt's changing hands tonight. There's a thing that you know before you know. Like, I saw this thing. That's how I know this is what's going to happen. It's sort of like seeing the fighter load up on the shot. You see it's coming. If you can maneuver or you can figure something out quicker, you can have something.
But what I found interesting, what you were saying, is how like people are disassociating with him. So like people that have known him are disassociating with him. That's where it kind of gets like, whoa. Like, we could speculate all we want, but what I'm saying is, like, all of a sudden you're pushing these symbols, and all the people that are like used to be cool with you are just like, man, we ain't fucking with you because we are against those symbols, or we've talked about it in our raps like fiercely, and then like it's now they're not cool. Like, that's kind of a weird, I think that's a weird fraction of it.
While everyone else is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. While everyone else is, and they're boasting and bragging about their relationships, other folks are like, not I, said the cat. Like, I got my own shit I'm doing. This thing is dead.
Yep. It's something that will be interesting when you finish that piece, because I think that will be something cool to like. I know not a lot of people know. Well, now they know him with Bing Bong. Like people
Yeah.
don't even realize he's a rapper. I've been telling people, I'm like, yeah, the fool's been rapping. He's like the same age as me, I think. Like he's 38,
Yeah.
right?
Something like that. So a big part of this is going to be answered in the second week of January. I'll talk to you a little bit about it
Nice.
offline, because some of these things do become kind of time sensitive, especially
Yeah.
if you're working on speculation, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll have an answer either before or after that, like a particular date. And not to say that dates matter, because there were lots of people hanging out at Dealey Plaza waiting for Q to come back, or JFK
Sure.
Jr.
JFK
Sorry.
Jr., sure.
Yeah. So, and we'll discuss it a little bit more offline, because it really does get dark, and it gets dark in a very short amount of time, especially when you see the helping hands that come along. The helping hands that are already affiliated with darkness, with bad shit, that have decades of being around bad shit. And you think that like these were bad dudes like in the street who were really bad dudes, have all of a sudden like cleaned up their shit completely and are no longer, they were part of a street gang before, but now there's a whole different corporate thug mind state.
That
And the
Diddy
corporate
shit.
thugs mean the same shit. The corporate thugs need the same shit that the street thugs. There's a reason that Diddy was tied up with the Crips in the West Coast.
Yeah, but I think that this corporate thug is worse, because I think like at least in street values, like there's like a base again. Like there, has things been broken up, like where they've put big leaders of Crip gangs, blood gangs, Mexican gangs, mob, whatever. They've locked these people up and they've took out the hierarchy. But there's still like a base where you're supposed to be like, hey, this is for the neighborhood, this is for the homies, this is. With the corporate thug, it's like me, whatever I gotta do. So they'll not only just cross, they'll kill anybody. Like I'm still to this day, I've always thought this, and more evidence that comes out, I feel like 100% Diddy got Biggie killed, because he was gonna have that huge contract, because he was about to sign a huge contract, his own label, start his own label right before that. And then what happened? He just mysteriously gets killed in the West Coast, where Diddy has fucking connections with fucking Crips.
I don't think Prodigy choked on an egg.
I don't either. I think that these are like, I don't know if they're sacrifices. I think like we kind of tangled it up. Like as far as Biggie, like I think I was just on some like, hey, you're not gonna leave, and I'm gonna get all that money. Because who do you think? Because the people don't know is that Big sold a lot of his publishing back to Diddy. So being broke and being a young guy, that he had like and you know how much Diddy bought his publishing for? $200,000, which ain't shit. So he was trying to negotiate with Puff to try to like, hey, like that's why he had a new label, that he was like finishing his contract with Bad Boy, and he was gonna start his own label for like $60 million. Now you own the artist forever. We all know that once an artist dies, especially now with streaming, your records are going through the roof. Your sales.
Yeah, and he only had 2 albums, right? He never had the opportunity to make a bad album.
Nope.
So, yeah, I mean, you see the T-shirts in Target. Like, Diddy is making a penny off of all of that. And yeah, I could totally see that as a money thing. I have zero doubt. I mean, these are dudes who are, like, in a real way, they've got shooters, all right? Okay, so this goes back about 20 years, all right? A group called Curbside Connect, right? Back in Germany. They were the opening acts on Diddy's No Way Out European tour, specifically in Germany. They also did a show in Vienna, Austria. I'll go on that later. But, like, Germany is a place where it is very, very hard to get a weapon. I didn't see anything, but I'm willing to guarantee that every one of those big Russian and Polish motherfuckers that was walking around with him had something that could get rid of a lot of people in short order. This is happening after the Shine shooting. But to be in a place where you can create the environment for the Shine shooting means that he had to know other people were ready to blast as well. So like street dudes who are associated, and Diddy's dad was a street dude.
Yeah.
His dad was a hustler. So, que sera, sera. What will be, will be.
Well, I think I would suggest people go to Vlad TV. I'm not a big, Vlad's whatever, but I think there's this great interview. I can't remember the guy's name, but just put Vlad TV and put Puffy's or P. Diddy's security guard. And he was his security guard for like for years, and he was there when Biggie got killed. And if you hear his story, you could just, I know that we don't know anything, like, as far as people, like, he could be lying, right? But you can just kind of get a taste of him being, he's being real genuine, because there's no reason for him to lie. There's no dog in this race. He's not getting money if he lies about it. He's not getting millions of dollars for going on Vlad. I think he just wants to say his piece. I think he finally is like, and it's funny that we talk about the Astro World with, what's his name? Travis Scott. The same situation happened with Diddy early on in his career. They had this huge, like I think it was like a gym type of place, and the top part, the balcony, it collapsed, and like 8, 9, 10 people. There was at least 8 people dead, and they weren't letting people out. It was, he cheaped out on the security. So it really when I heard the Travis Scott story, I instantly thought of that story. It was like, it's kind of similar. You cheaped out on the security. You had way too many people, and they fucking killed, and people die. It's neglect. Like, I know that there's obviously the Travis Scott has so much symbolism, but I think that we give him too much power with this occultic shit. Sure, I think they try to scare us, just like with, like, the COVIDs or the terrorists or the war on drugs. They try to use these things to scare us, but in all, like, I always look at it like this. I'm not a super religious person, but I know that I'm good with God and God's good with me. And I know that the devil can't do anything to me except manipulate me. So if I just keep my head on a swivel, I could be all right. But we get into involved. But it's interesting to me too. Don't get me wrong. I love listening to the cultic, but I think that we give them more power than they really have.
Sorry, someone's explaining the Shine shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jamal Barrow was an artist signed to Bad Boy in the early 2000s. A lot of people said he got signed because he sounded a lot like Biggie. I'm kind of in that camp. And he did. He sounded a lot like Biggie. But they were at an event. Jennifer Lopez was with him. And something happened. I guess Shine shot a girl in the face. Yeah, bad stuff happened. Diddy's been involved in some stuff that where guns have been used.
And also Empire Records, man. So, like, that's what makes me do kind of subscribe to some of the Sacrifice stuff, because if you look at Empire Records, Young Dolph, Triple X, I can always mess up his name. I can't say his name. But there's a good, like, what's his name? Rodney, the dude that just passed away in LA. What's his name? Damn, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. The Ruler, Draco the Ruler.
Yeah.
He was on Empire Records. Like, there's a lot of people on the Empire Records that have been murdered. Like, that's not a good business model. You know
I mean, it is if you're an executive, if you're an artist, that's a shit plan. Like, that's wow, that's some Friends of Clinton stuff. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you look up Empire Records, you'll see like at least 7 to 8 different artists that were decently big. That doesn't mean, like, people forget, like, all you need is 1 million listeners, and there's like, what, 6-7 billion people in the world. 1 million listeners will fucking get you money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they get these fools, like you said, and then it's like, you're not leaving anywhere. I have you on forever because I own your because they get all of us. They get people to sign shitty deals, and yeah, Aaliyah too. I think Aaliyah was with Empire Records too. Yep. That's right.
Yeah. So I'm looking at their list of artists, and yeah, so you've got Aaliyah. But at the same time, you've also got Ninth Wonder, Mac Dre, Triple X. Yeah, this people, but also at the same time, if you're involved in street shit, there's a really good. If you're driving around a Lamborghini, in a shitty neighborhood where lots of other people don't have Lamborghinis, and you've got a chain worth $50,000 on,
for sure.
Well,
plus, and then in your songs, you're saying, "Try to take my chain, bitch. I'll kill you." And then someone goes, "Okay." You know what I mean? Like, there's gonna be somebody that's hungry enough, like they say, you get hungry enough, you'll pretty much do anything,
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's. What was it? The Test My Gangster World Tour from Tekashi 6ix9ine. Yeah, like, eventually people are gonna test your gangster. You know what? Like, no one ever tries to out-kind anybody. Like,
no, never.
You know what? Like, I mow more lawns, motherfucker. Yeah, well, I wash cars for veterans.
There's a TikTok like that. There's these 2 dudes and their neighbors, and like they're looking all like hostile, and he's like, "Already mowed your lawn, neighbor. How's it going?" He's like, "Got your gutters clean, buddy." Like, and they just keep going back on favors, like trying to top each other. But like, yeah, you're right, and I think that it's sad, but it's been invested into hip hop, such a negativity for a long time. And if anybody, like I've said it a few times on here before too, if you go on YouTube and check out the Tupac's Hoax YouTube channel, I think it's very interesting. Is it all true? I don't know, but I think that the most that stood out to me is like in the early '90s and like mid '90s when they used to have a lot of positive rap, and it, you know, like Tennessee, you know what I mean? Like there was a lot more artistic things going out there, and then just it stopped. You know what I mean? Then Gangster Paradise came out and gangster shit took over. Like there was always gangster rap, but it was more, it was like that noise. You knew it was in the streets. Like, you know, NWA, everybody knew that, right? There was videos.
Yeah.
But then it just completely took over, and there's no alternative as much. And that's why so many people were happy when Kendrick came out. J. Cole, because it was filling that void of having artists like, you're like, oh my God, all right, we get it, you're on pills. All right, we get it, you're coked out. Like, you know what I mean? There's only so much of anybody. Even like a lot of people I know, like fucking rappers will be like, oh, whack MCs, and you're like, all right, man, enough. Let's go fucking make some substance. Like, go make something that's more than just like, hey, I'm tougher than you. And we got to get away from that machismo shit. Like that's what gets us men killed. It's trying to be tougher than the next guy. For what? Like, who are we proving this to? Like, there's nobody. I would rather be there for my daughter, my nephews, my nieces, my friends, my family, than fucking punch somebody or get into a fight or an altercation with someone for calling me a name. I would rather just go, ha, you're probably right.
Motherfuckers want to be action stars in real life, like they're bulletproof. It's a crazy thing to me, man. People get really, really excited about things that really, really don't matter. Because, yeah, somebody having a bad day isn't worth it to me. Like, I've got to, you know, like, I've got kids I kind of want to hang out with, man.
Yeah.
Like, you calling me a pussy, not that big a deal. I got big.
Yeah, that's.
I train, motherfucker. Like, I'll choke this shit out of you. Like, if this.
Oh, yeah, see, that too. Like, I don't train or nothing, but I just feel like I've trained my mind. Like, I'll tell you a funny story. I've told it on my other podcast, Over the Influence, but. So at this one time, we're all hanging out at a bar, right? And in California, I was in California at the time. There's a lot of UFC gyms, and we call them UFC guys because they wear the UFC shirt. They go to the UFC gym. They're fucking tough shit. He was a big boy. He was probably like 6'2", 6'3", maybe a little bit bigger, but like, and he's like, I'll knock anybody out. He was just like saying that all night, right? Like, he'll knock anybody out. I wasn't really paying too much attention to him because I'm just having, because when I go out to have a good time. I don't go out to
Weird.
Weirdo, right? And then I'm outside smoking a cigarette. And he goes up to my friend, and then he says that to him, and my homie's like, hey, like, and I can tell my friend, because my friend's not like that, he's going to be like, I'm going to fucking swing on you. You know what I mean? I don't care how big you are. I'm going to fucking take you out, because he was training at the time, too. And then he kind of did, and I was like, just chill. And then he looks at me, I'll knock you out right now. I said, okay. You know what? You're probably right. You will. But let me tell you, before you knock me out, I'm going to throw up on you. He said, what? I said, as soon as you cock your fist back, I'm going to throw up all over you, motherfucker. Guess what? You knock me out, I get up, I have a beer. You got to throw up on you. You got to go home. He left me alone, though. He looked at me like the biggest weirdo, but I just use it in a different way because it's like, oh, you're tough. If you're so tough, then knock me out and get thrown up on you. He just left me alone, and he looked at me like I was the weirdo. But I thought, like, you have to find creative ways to defuse those situations.
Yeah, I found that, like, if you make them laugh, you'll be fine, right? But if you really want to fight, make other people laugh.
Oh yeah, like that girl that spit on that old dude with the mask.
Yeah.
The reason he got pissed off is because he called you like, all right, being a Karen, and everyone's like, got him. And that's what set her into a rage, because that's the old high school theory. You know, in high school when you're like in the halls and you're saying shit in the foods. Like one time I remember it was in junior high. These two dudes were like looking up like this, like squaring up, and it was taking forever. So I just was like, you know, I was like kind of a asshole, but I like to antagonize a little bit. I ran over there and I pushed their heads together, made them kiss, and I was like, oh! They got so mad and they just started fighting each other. I don't know why they didn't fight me. You think they would fight me? But it was pretty hilarious to me. Like, they didn't find it as funny, but I was like, dude, you waited like 5 minutes. I'm like, I got an audience. I gotta do something, man. It's 7th grade. You know what I mean? I gotta fucking make a splash.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, you gotta be entertaining. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, no one wants to be like, yeah, we got into a fight. It was absolutely nothing memorable. We wrestled. No, like, it was cool. I tried to bite his ear off. He tried to peel my sack off. Like, somebody died.
Yeah.
I got stabbed with a coat hanger in my liver.
Yeah, it's like nothing like, and it's no, and again, it's usually for no reason. Like it's something that is just egotistical shit of trying to be like, oh, I'm fucking, who cares, man? I don't, like I said, call me pussy all day. I'm a show pussy, whatever you want me to be, I'll be. But I'm good with my family. So luckily
yeah.
for me, I'm good with myself, like, and it doesn't bother me. But maybe those people can try to figure that out too.
I think that a big part of it is when people go out, what are your intentions when you're going out? Like, because if you're going out for a good time, well, you're going to have a good time. If you're going out to have sex, well, then, or to particularly to hunt for stranger sex.
Yeah, yeah.
When that doesn't happen, you tend to get upset. But what happened is you got drunk way too early. You were an obnoxious prick, and nobody said, "I like you enough for tonight." No, you're mad because no one said these things to you, and now now it's late, and you want somebody to hit you first.
Yeah, because you're miserable, and you're right. Like, don't get me wrong. There is some chicks out there. You go to a bar, they had a bad day, and they're absolutely bitch to you for no reason, right? But that's not every day. But one thing that people don't acknowledge too is dudes. I've seen it with my own eyes. Like you said, they get turned out. You know what happens if I ask a chick out and she's like, oh, okay. I'm like I might make a joke out of it, and sometimes I make a joke and it kind of, it actually works better. But these guys get all fucking huffing, puffing, like fucking. They'll either cuss her out, or they'll try to intimidate her, or they're gonna try to fight somebody else. And I'm like, dude, grow the fuck up, man. Not everybody's gonna like you. You know what I mean? It's we all
Yeah.
have our own taste, and I think that men have to be men again. And I'm tired of I've seen it online too, and that's kind of why I posted the whole QAnon thing, is because I've seen a lot of people. I don't care the reasons. I don't give a fuck if they're making memes of you. I don't give any of that shit. Block them and leave it alone. That's it. That's a woman, man. I'm old school, and I know feminists probably don't like that, but that's how I was raised, to protect women. And if people are going to be bashing women over the internet, get the fuck off the internet, man. We don't need that shit on here, because that's nothing but negative energy. And then you're going to come around and be like, oh, no, we're a positive crew. Nah, bro. If you know what happens if a chick gets crazy with me? Usually it doesn't happen that far. But say I'm going to block them, right? There's no need for me and her to have any interaction anymore if it's so toxic, right? Why am I going to go out? I'm not going to harass her. I'm not going to post videos of her or post memes. It's the same thing that they were doing on that TikTok shit with Modern Warrior, Misfit Patriot. It's this whole thing of like revenge. Like, dude, let it fucking go, man. And especially a lot of people that are claiming to be like trying to better themselves. That's okay if you make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. We all make mistakes. But when you're consistently doing the same pattern over and over, and people come in my DMs. This is in the past year. I've had other people. I won't mention no names, because like I would rather, like, I keep shit on the low. Like, if you guys have something to say to me, they can come say something to me. But what I'm saying is, I get a lot of instant messages, DMs, of people telling me and showing me screenshots of other people harassing chicks. Like, who cares why they pissed you off? I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that does infuriate me, because I'm just like, there's no reason. Okay, I get it. Maybe she was being a bitch. I get it. People could be shitty. Leave it alone. You're saying you're a better person to be that better person.
It's a fake world. It's a fucking fake world. We talked about this at the very beginning. You start your day with negative Instagram or Facebook or news bullshit. It's gonna come back on the people that are supposed to love you the most, and that you're supposed to love them most. My brother, I've got to dip out. I am definitely
same
not
here,
gonna
man.
make the class tonight.
Can you give your shout outs where everybody can follow you and everything real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So the podcast is Woke and Bake. I'm available on everything except for Spotify. And the website is getwokeandbake.com. My friend, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for having me. Your energy is always fantastic. You're a beautiful human being, and you are the best smelling man in all of the internet.
In all podcasting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna rip this off the internet and repost this so that people want to listen to it in my feed and they want to listen to you and find your stuff. Where do they do that?
Yeah, you can find my stuff at Kill the Mockingbirds, obviously, on Instagram and Telegram. You can check out my album Dystopian Paradise, kind of a shout out into like what we're going into. And the singles on there you might want to check out is Mockingbird's Massacre and We Won't Comply. And I'm gonna end like this. You could sign off if you want, but I'm gonna end off on my homie my brother, he dropped his album on Christmas Day, The Coronation, King Mega, tons of dope artists, Okie Doke, Chucky Dub, Give Me the Plug, Harsh Ramirez, myself. I could go on and on. But Single Shadow Team, dope album. I'm gonna go out like this. I'm gonna go off with this one. It's for the taking. It's Showbiz, myself, and Okie Doke with King Mega on the beats and the boards, man. Appreciate having you. And you know how we do it here. Wake the fuck up or get
well the fuck up. Peace.
But fine, and I'm only smile sometimes. Keep us in the game, just keep me from growing. Man, I'm a fool. The ain't cool, but you're so cruel. A pit bull on the loose, trying to see what I'ma choose. I don't think I'll ever break loose. It's just psycho. We learn to bend and break rules, and that's the truth. To be the stage next.